you'll see. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash, bringing you our extra bases segment. We got our all-rookie team for you this year. Dash, this has got to be your favorite segment because you love them young boys.
I'm no Sandusky, man. But look, we're going to start off with catcher here. There hasn't been too many rookie catchers to make an impact this season. Schwarber. Now, if you want to count him, he has played 20 games at catcher, but he kind of is a project at catcher right now. They're playing him more in the outfield. I put him as a left fielder at this point. I'm going with the guys who actually can play catcher more often than not. And there's only two guys here. Blake Swihart from the Boston Red Sox and Jacob Realmuto from the Miami Marlins. Now, Swihart was a top prospect, but he's been somewhat of a letdown this year. He only hit .268 with the .314 on base and only 2 home runs. This is a guy they believe that can hit maybe 15 home runs for you and give you a solid batting average. But he's only had 265 at-bats this year, has taken 17 walks compared to 71 Ks. Now, I'm going to give it to Realmuto, though. He hit .255, a little less than Swihart, but he did hit 10 home runs in 419 at-bats, added 7 stolen bases, and look, he hit 10 triples as well. This is a guy I kind of liked the past couple years in the minors. He got a little bit of time with Miami last year in the big leagues, but this is really considered his rookie season, and I actually had him in fantasy for a little bit. I like this guy. I'm going to take Realmuto. Now, long-term, it might be Swihart that's the better catcher, but Realmuto this season had the better season.
Fans, if you think Dash is crazy, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread and let us know. If you don't want him to know, you can hit me up on betjimthewin. I won't tell.
Let's move on to first base here. Now, there's a couple guys here. None of them are really big-time prospects or anything like that. You got the Boston Red Sox, Travis Shaw. He hit .282 with a .348 on base and 188 at-bats so far this season. Has 11 home runs, 10 doubles, 30 RBIs, and 27 runs. Now, this is another guy I liked in the minors. He wasn't a top prospect or anything, but he's shown he can hit here. He might K a little bit too much, 45 Ks and 188 at-bats. It seems like a little bit too much, but he also took 18 walks, which isn't bad. But there's also the possibility he might not even stick around as a starter on this team because they want to move Hanley Ramirez to first base. Maybe towards the end of the season. I don't think he is going to play the rest of this season, but next season I think they want him at first base. So Travis Shaw might be left without a position and might have to be dealt or something, but he is a guy I like. And then there's Justin Bour from Miami. He is an up-and-down hitter, but he's had a pretty decent season. Hit .262 with a .322 on base. Has 20 home runs, 66 ribbies, 38 runs in 381 at-bats. So he's had a pretty good season. This is a guy that really came out of nowhere. Nobody thought he was going to be that good, but he has had a solid season so far. And then the Oakland Athletics, Mark Canha. He has really come on as of late. He started out hot and then he cooled off for a while, but he's really turned it on again here late in the season. He's hitting .252 with a .308 on base, 15 jacks, 20 doubles, 2 triples. He's even added 7 stolen bases. He has a little bit of speed as well, and he scored more runs than these guys as well. 58 runs in 413 at-bats. I think I'm going to give it to him. Just because Travis Shaw, he's only got 188 at-bats. Bour's played a lot of the season, and some of his numbers are better, but Mark Canha seems like a more all-around player, has some speed to go along with that power, has been scoring a lot more runs. Bour doesn't score many runs, and they both have the same amount of RBI. So I think Mark Canha would be my first baseman, but he would bat low in my order because this is probably the weakest of the positions out of these rookies and prospects and whatnot. You could also consider Greg Bird. He's only had 128 at-bats, but hit 10 home runs so far this season for your team, the New York Yankees.
Believe it.
Let's move on to second base. There's only 2 guys here that I'm considering, and one, he's a guy I liked last season for the Miami Marlins. This is only his second season. Last year, he didn't get enough at-bats for a rookie season, but he's already played for 3 teams. That's Enrique Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, they call him. But he's hit .308 with a .350 on base this year in 185 at-bats, though. 6 home runs, 12 doubles, 2 triples, has scored 22 runs and drove in 21. He's a pretty good hitter, nothing great, but he plays a lot of positions too. Third base, center field, left field, right field, shortstop, and plus second base obviously this season. But he has been on a DL since the end of August. And Devon Travis, this guy has spent a lot of his season on the DL, actually, with a shoulder injury. But when he was healthy, man, this guy could hit. 304 average, a 361 on base, 8 jacks and 217 at bats. Took 18 walks compared to 43 Ks. Has a little bit of speed. He stole 3 bases, but I bet you he could get up to 15 stolen bases in a full season. But this guy, he seems like an all-around player for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he looked like one of their main pieces when he was healthy. I'm still going to go with Devon Travis here because there isn't that many options. And Devon Travis is a guy I've been watching in the minors for the past few years, and I really like that. He was never a top prospect for some reason, but this is exactly what he did in the minors, was had that high batting average, a solid on-base percentage. He had pop, he had speed. I just didn't understand why people didn't like this guy, and I think people do see this guy as one of the better second basemen in baseball now. It would be nice for the Toronto Blue Jays if they could get him back as well for the playoffs, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Let's move on to third base here. There's a ton of third basemen. You remember third base was one of the weaker positions not long ago. Just what?
Then Jung-ho came along
2-3 years ago. Yeah, Jung-ho Gung is a guy you could consider here. Now he's on a DL. Obviously, he's done for the season.
Blasted leg.
He's out for 6 to 8 months or something like that. So it's going to be a long time for him. Get out of here with that. His career's over. But he hit 287 with a 355 on base, 15 jacks, had 24 doubles, 2 triples, drove in 58, scored 60, a little bit of speed with 5 stolen bases, and 421 at bats. This guy looked like a budding star, actually, until he got hurt. But I still think he's going to be a good player long term. It just might take a while for him to get back. But you could also consider him as shortstop as well if you wanted. But there's a lot of guys here. Matt Duffy had a great season. He hit 299 with a 339 on base, 11 home runs, 11 stolen bases, and 535 at bats. This is a guy that somewhat came out of nowhere this season for the San Francisco Giants. Maikel Franco had a pretty solid season, hitting 277 with a 340 on base. He's actually on a DL with a wrist injury right now. Only got 296 at bats, but he was on a tear when he first came up. He looks like a pretty good player moving forward. In fact, he's one of those guys that has power that doesn't strike out a lot. Those guys are hard to find. Jake Lamb from the Diamondbacks is another guy you could consider. He got off to the real hot start this season. Got injured. I think it was a foot injury. And when he came back, he really didn't have the same type of power. Only 6 home runs, a 271 average, a 338 on base percentage. But he is a pretty good player, although they do have that Brandon Drury now, and he might be their future third baseman. We'll have to see in spring training next season, heading into the season. But then there's these other 2 guys here. Chris Bryant and Miguel Sano, 2 of the top prospects in baseball starting this season, and they both have huge power. Look, Sano, 17 home runs and 245 at bats. Chris Bryant, 26 home runs and 538 at bats. But Sano, he got called up a little later, so it's definitely Chris Bryant at third base. You got to go with Chris Bryant. He's hitting 279, has a 370 on base percentage. Along with
Dude's a monster.
Yeah, along with that 26 home runs, he has 31 doubles, 5 triples, 98 RBIs, 86 runs. He's added 13 stolen bases, 71 walks his rookie season compared to 188 Ks, though. This is the one thing I did say about this guy when he was in the minors, is he K'd a little bit too much, and that's why I didn't think he was quite a 300 hitter. He'll probably stay below 300 most seasons unless he figures out that K rate a little bit. But Chris Bryant's your guy. Although Miguel Sano, he's a very similar player to him. And he's another guy I didn't think that could keep his average up with as much as he Ks. And he Ks more. Look at this. 108 Ks and 245 at bats. That's a ton of Ks. Yet this guy's hitting 278 and has a 395 on base percentage.
So it's a hit, strikeout, or walk.
Well, listen, something's going to happen here. If he doesn't fix his K rate, this guy is not going to be a 280 hitter in his career. But if his K rate comes down, he has the possibility to do that, or he could be even better, be closer to a 300 hitter, but there's no way both of those things are going to stay the same throughout his career. One of those 2 have to change. Either the K's got to go down or that average got to go down. Let's move on to shortstop here. You could go with Corey Seager, who's been great for the Dodgers in just 68 at-bats, has a 353 average, a 457 on base, 3 jacks, 8 doubles with 13 RBIs and 12 runs, added 2 stolen bases. Look at this, though. 12 walks already in just 68 at-bats, remember, and K just 11 times. This guy looks like he's going to be a beast, but there's also Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa. Now, Correa was the guy that came up, and he was hot from the very start. He's hitting 281 right now with a 348 on base, 21 jacks with 22 doubles. But he cooled off a little bit as of recent, and Francisco Lindor has been tearing it up for the Cleveland Indians. This is probably my favorite rookie/prospect out of all these guys on this list. This guy is a beast. He's hitting 317 with a 355 on base, 10 jacks, 8 stolen bases, and 356 at-bats. Doesn't K too much, takes a good amount of walks. Everything about this guy is great, including his defense. But Carlos Correa has had somewhat of a better season in the power department, and he steals bases as well. But a lot of people were saying Francisco Lindor is going to win AL Rookie of the Year because he's been hot down the stretch. He's been playing great baseball. But I still want to give it to Carlos Correa here just because of the season he had. Look, he has 21 home runs and 356 at-bats. This guy's a beast from the shortstop position. Like I said, Lindor is probably my favorite player, but Carlos Correa has just had too good of a season for me to ignore. So I'm going to take him. There's also Addison Russell you could think about, and Ketel Marte from the Seattle Mariners. Left field. There's a couple guys here. Like you mentioned before, Kyle Schwarber. This guy is going to be a beast. We know that. But he's only hitting 245 right now with a 351 on base. He's cooled off a lot recently, but he does have 16 home runs in those 212 at-bats. This guy has light tower power. He's going to be a beast, no doubt about it. But look, he seems like a guy that's going to hit a home run or he's going to hit a single for you. Because look, 16 jacks, 6 doubles in 212 at-bats with 1 triple as well. So this guy, he's slow, but he's a monster at the plate. Now, I'm not going to go with him in left field, actually, because Stephen Piscotty from the Cardinals has been very good since being called up. In 218 at-bats, he's hitting 312 with a 367 on base, 6 home runs and 2 stolen bases. He takes a good amount of walks with 19, and he doesn't K too much, just 53 Ks and 218 at-bats. This guy is going to be very good. He's somewhat older, though. The Cardinals left him down in the minors for a pretty long time. He's played center field, right field, and first base as well. So if you wanted to make your team as powerful as possible, you could probably stick him on first base and then take one of these other guys, maybe Kyle Schwarber. But Michael Conforto from the New York Mets has been good in 152 at-bats, hitting 283 with a 355 on base and 8 jacks. Eddie Rosario's had a pretty good season in 426 at-bats with Minnesota. He's hit 268 with just a 289 on base percentage, but 12 home runs, 11 stolen bases, so he seems like a pretty good player as well. This guy was a second baseman in the minors, actually, but they moved him to the outfield since they called him up. But I'm going to say Stephen Piscotty in left field would be my guy from St. Louis.
Surprised you gave anybody from St. Louis.
Well, St. Louis, they got a couple good outfielders here this season, some good rookies. Let's not forget Randall Grichuk in center field here.
One-arm Grichuk.
He hit 283 so far with a 334 on base, has 17 home runs and 307 at-bats. This guy has showed a lot more power than they believed he was going to give him, especially in a stadium like St. Louis as well. But look, 103 Ks and 307 at-bats. This guy Ks a ton. So this is another guy. Either his average is going to come down or he's going to get more plate discipline, because both of those numbers cannot stay the same. It's almost impossible. But look, he's added 22 doubles, 7 triples, 47 RBIs, 49 runs, 4 stolen bases. Randall Grichuk's a very good player too. Delino DeShields, a Rule 5 pick from Texas. They got him from Houston in that Rule 5 draft. He's been pretty good this season, 24 stolen bases and 398 at-bats, hitting 261. He takes a good amount of walks too, has a 342 on base percentage. I don't think I'm going to give it to him though. Odubel Herrera has been pretty good for Philly, hitting 288 with 8 jacks and 476 at-bats. I don't think I want to give it to him. Jock Peterson, remember this guy? He had a huge
Beast
first half. Yeah, what do you have? 21 home runs or something in the first half? He has 25 home runs right now, and he's hitting 213.
Garbage.
In 465
He got benched,
at-bats.
I think, twice.
Now, look, he's K'd 165 times in those 465 at-bats. He has a 213 average. That's what happens when you strike out that much. That's why I don't see Grichuk and Sano keeping those averages up, and I expect them to fall unless they can fix that K rate. But one other guy here in center field, Billy Burns, hitting 299 with a 338 on base percentage for the Oakland Athletics.
Is he related to Montgomery Burns?
I highly doubt it. But look, in
Excellent.
489 at-bats, he only has 5 home runs, but he's not a power guy. He's a speed guy. 16 doubles, 9 triples, 38 RBIs, but he scored 67 runs, has 26 stolen bases. This is a guy followed in the minors as well. He's a little bit older now, 25, 26, something like that. But this is a guy, he's a spark plug at the top of any lineup, and I think he's going to be a very good player long term. I want to give it to him, but I'm going to give it to Randall Grichuk from the St. Louis Cardinals. So I'm going to have 2 St. Louis Cardinals in my outfield here, man.
It's blasphemy. I love it.
Well, look, you could also put Grichuk in right field because there isn't much at right field here, and you could take Billy Burns and put him in center field. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Is Polanco still a rookie, or did he play too much last year?
Yeah, he's not considered a rookie at this point. But Yasmani Thomas is a right fielder, the young Cuban for the Arizona Diamondbacks. People thought he was going to have a little bit more power this season, just 9 home runs and 395 at-bats. He hasn't taken very many walks, just 17, compared to 109 strikeouts, but he does have a 281 average, so he looks like he could be a good player. I think his K rate's going to come down and his walk rate's going to come up as he gets more playing time in the bigs, and hopefully his power comes up as well. Or there's Jorge Soler, the Cubs right fielder. Spent a lot of time on a DL this season, but when he has been healthy through 355 at-bats, he's hit 268 with a 327 on base, 10 jacks, 18 doubles, a triple, 47 RBIs, and 39 runs. Added 3 stolen bases. This is a guy I think can still use double-digit stolen bases in a season. I don't see why not. I think he has a little bit of speed. But 30 walks compared to 117 Ks. It's kind of hard for me to choose out of these two. I'm probably going to go with Soler. But if I was just going to try to stack my team here, I wouldn't take either one of these guys. I'd probably put Billy Burns in center field and take Randall Grichuk, maybe Kyle Schwarber, and start one of those in right field or left field. Just round out my outfield, not specifically on position, just taking the best 3 outfielders. And one other position here. How about starting pitcher? There's a couple guys. Luis Severino, he's been good through 9 starts. That's not enough starts for me, though. But he does have a 3.10 ERA. Lance McCullers from Houston, he's made 20 starts, has a 3.22 ERA, a 1.18 whip, 116 Ks in 114.2 innings, just 39 walks and 96 hits. This guy looks like he's a pretty good pitcher. And then Andrew Haney's made 16 starts, has a 3.30 ERA, just 72 Ks in 95.1 innings, though. Cody Anderson's been good through 14 starts with a 3.31 ERA for Cleveland. Chris Heston, we know for San Francisco, he's a little bit older of a rookie, but he's made 29 starts this season. He's pretty much pitched a full season. And he has a 3.51 ERA, a 1.28 whip, and 169 innings pitched. Has K'd 135 batters, allowed 155 hits compared to 61 walks. He also had the no-hitter this season as well. So Chris Heston is a definite possibility here. And then there's Taylor Youngman as well, had a 3.64 ERA this season and 116.1 innings pitched, 105 Ks compared to 43 walks. Eduardo Rodriguez for Boston has been good this season, a 3.97 ERA, 36 walks compared to 93 Ks and 115.2 innings pitched. But I'm going to go with Noah Syndergaard, obviously, for the New York Mets. This guy has helped them push the team to the playoffs. He has a 3.34 ERA, a 1.08 whip, in 143 innings pitched. He's allowed 124 hits, 30 walks, and has 156 Ks in those 23 starts. So this guy is a beast, and he has ace type potential in him to go along with other aces on that staff. And Matt Harvey, Steven Matz could end up being a good pitcher, maybe even an ace out there. And Jacob deGrom, he's already an ace out there.
We
Zach
did a
Wheeler.
prospect check on Syndergaard, didn't we?
Yeah, please believe.
Fans, go check that out at youtube.com/betthespread.
I think he has something like Garrett Cole type potential in this guy. This guy is a monster. But that's it. I'm going to go with Noah Syndergaard as my starting pitcher, Jacob Realmuto as my catcher, Mark Canha is going to be my first baseman, Devon Travis, my second baseman, although he's not healthy, Chris Bryant's my third baseman, Carlos Correa is my shortstop, my left fielder, Stephen Piscotty, my center fielder, Randall Grichuk, my right fielder is going to be Jorge Soler, or I'm going to mix it up and put Burns in center, Grichuk in right field, and keep Piscotty in left. I'd rather do that, actually. And then, like I said, Noah Syndergaard, my pitcher.
Better than the Pirates roster.
Well, let me tell you, this is a better roster than many rosters in baseball. I mean, this is almost like an all-star roster right here, outside of maybe first base. No doubt. And Jacob Realmuto.
No doubt.
Listen, these catchers, it takes them a while to really come into their own at the plate in the big leagues. I think Realmuto is going to be a guy like Lucroy. It took him a few years, and when he hit 27, something like that, he really took off. I think Realmuto could do something like that as well. But if I got to take a DH as well, I don't know. I'd like to take Francisco Lindor maybe. Jung-ho Kang. If we're counting people that aren't healthy as well, I think we're going to take Jung-ho.
You got to take Jung-ho, dude. He was mashing the ball, especially since the All-Star break. And you never know if the dude's mad or not because he just stays stoic. He could be pulling a prank on you. He could be pissed off. He could be stabbing you. You wouldn't even know it. Love that dude.
Yeah, this team would be beast, though. No doubt. Wrap it up.
Is this going to be your fantasy team next year?
If I could have them, I have most of these dudes. I love the young dudes, man.
I told you at the beginning of the segment, fans, he loves the young guys.
No, you said young boys. I love these guys as athletes. I do not love young boys.
All right. Well, that's it, fans. If you want to make fun of Dash for loving young boys, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and clicking subscribe and clicking thumbs up. Don't dislike us whenever Facebook starts a dislike button because that's not nice.